It's up to the slide to lift up. This is the slide.
Okay.
Now, if for any reason this is a little gummed up, if there's a leak in this rubber diaphragm, one of the slides will either not lift up, or if there's gumminess on here, it'll move slowly. This rubber diaphragm here, easy way to check, all you have to do is hold it up to a light source and give a light tug on it and look for any tiny holes. Any holes would cause an air leak and the slide would move up and down.
What kind of life do those diaphragms have?
Usually tremendous, usually many, many years, but it is it's not a rubber, but it can dry rot after a while, and I have seen them with little pinholes. I've actually also seen them pull clear of the slide, and judging by what that's doing, I'd say that since the number 3 guy was moving faster than the other ones, it might be time to pull the slides out, give them a wipe off, and make sure that everything is sealing properly. Before carb sticks were around, we would just take one spark plug lead off, see how fast it ran on one cylinder, put it on, pull the other spark plug lead off, and ran on the other cylinder. You can't do that anymore for a couple of reasons. First of which, most of the ignitions won't tolerate it. If you pull the lead off, it may cook the electronic ignition. And the second thing is, it would be virtually impossible on a 4-cylinder bike to hear it running a little bit worse on 1 out of 4 cylinders.
Right.
And you certainly couldn't read, hey, is one of these slides sticking as it slides up, as it moves up and down. So right now, the nice thing is the engine seems to be very happy. We've got a very even amount of vacuum on all 4 cylinders, but when we're twisting that throttle, the slides are not all coming up at the same time, and they're not all dropping back down at the same time. It would probably be a good idea to pull these tops off and take a look in here, maybe give them a little cleanup. There could be oil mist passing through the carburetors and gumming up the slides a little bit. Anyway, let me put this back in. It drops in there. There's a spring to help the return. And the top goes on here. Alrighty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it's supposed to look. If everything's working just fine, you should have a nice even height of mercury all the way across on all 4 columns.
Tom, thank you guys at Advanced Cycle very much, and Armin, we'll see you next time.
motors, 36 horse, 1140 cc. The each Harley FLHs, I ain't put on my diet.
Beautiful, looks great. Hey, what are you riding?
All right, this is a 57 Cushman Eagle.
1957 Cushman Eagle.
Looks beautiful. You guys are stealing the show here.
Yep.
Tell us about the bike.
It's all original, totally restored, 100%, motor and all.
We're from St. Louis. We belong to the Cushman Club of America, and we usually ride our scooters to the meet. We went from St. Louis out to Shelbyville, Kentucky. Those are like 422 miles. I've taken a trip from Tulsa, Oklahoma, down to Marshall, Texas. That was another 28 miles. We meet down here at Daytona every year. We ride all around here quite a bit, and these things are just dead reliable. And we just love them. We just think it's the best thing. They're little. You can get them where you need to go, and we can get in a traffic jam just as easy as anybody. They're 8 horsepower, 320 cc's, and they sound just as bad as the next guy.
You know, we see bikes like this riding around, and you steal the show. I mean, you just take the spotlight away. You just don't see these on the street much.
We don't mean to really take the spotlight away from all the Harley riders and everything, but it is really funny when you see all this big massive horsepower and the big loud pipes and everything, and here comes 8 horsepower come rolling up, and some guy's got a $25,000 motorcycle, and I've got something here that's, you know, I don't know, maybe couple $100, you know, and they leave that bike and they come over and doodle over this thing because they haven't seen them around. They're just not around that much, you know.
That's great. Hey, tell us about your bike here.
The 61 Cushman I chopped in half and stretched the frame by 17.5 inches long. And I had 2 Briggs & Stratton industrial motors. Each of them were 18 horse each, which is a total of 36 horse. Both motors combined at 1,140 cc's. And last night I was on the ride in the Ridgeway. Some guy in a big FLH bag wagon, him and his wife, said, "How's the thing run?" I said, "Let's bash it off and find out." Got to the next stop, I said, "How you like it?" He says, "Well," I said, "Tell everybody when you get back home you got beat by a lawnmower motor, you know."
It was a basket case when it started.
Hey, where can I buy one of these?
Can't. Go find a farmer with a barn. That's where you'll find most of them.
Or your grandpop, right?
Yeah. If you're lucky, he still has it.
Hey, that's great. Well, keep riding. Enjoy that beach.
I will.
Jim, you're not going to remember when this was considered new and exciting.
Yeah, and your only choices were displacement and color, right? And now look what we have. I tell you, come into a dealership, Armin, it's amazing the choices, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It must be a bit bewildering for a beginning buyer.
Let's break down the categories. How about we start with a sport bike here?
Okay, that's a good example.
Wow, I love the color on this one, huh? What do you like about this?
Well, these are what are called sport bikes. Although they're not race bikes, that's where the original styling came from. The bodywork you've got here, the fairing bubble over here, and the bodywork on the sides originally was designed to make the bikes more aerodynamic and make them faster. That is an effect on the street, but another side effect is that it cuts some of the cold air blasts and it keeps some of the rain off of you. Tuck all the way in and see how far in you'd have to. If you were racing, you'd be looking through that screen, but realistically on the street, you're not doing that much. Mainly it's to cut a nice hole in the wind.
I tell you, this is some stylish looking fiberglass, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, what'll happen is you probably feel there's a lot of weight on your arms.
Right.
The reason this fairing is so low is that once you're moving, the air will come up and hit your chest and pick up some of your weight, so that now with your back angled like that, there isn't as much weight on your lower back, and it also takes the weight off your arms. That's the good news. The bad news is if you're using this to go to the grocery store at 10 miles an hour, you got sore arms. Now for our next category, cruisers.
Well, I tell you, this is my favorite category here. I have a cruiser, and there's nothing like making the rounds on one of these for an around-town sort of bike, huh?
Well, you know, that's where they started, but what I'm seeing more and more of is that a lot of people are buying these and actually going a distance. One nice thing about these is, take a look at this. Here I am, 5'6", I got my feet on the ground, knees bent. I mean, this is not too threatening. For a beginning rider or somebody who's shorter, it's nice to be able to have your feet on the ground. Much more comfortable and balancing on top of a real tall bike you're afraid of falling over.
You know what I love? The fat back tire and the thin front tire. You know, the buckhorn handlebars, the two-tone paint. I tell you, this bike's a home run.
Jim, check this out. Water cooling, shaft drive, saddlebags, travel trunk, AM/FM cassette, cruise control, four-way speakers. Is there anything missing from this bike?
Well, about 400 miles of highway and a full tank of gas. Let's go. Of all the bikes so far, Armin, I must say this looks the most like the one we first saw when we came in.
Well, it's the same spirit. This isn't pigeonholing you into one category, a tourer, a cruiser, a sport bike. It could be anything you want. You could ride it just like it is, ride it around town, ride it across country. Put a fairing on it, put a set of saddlebags on it. You could put on lower bars, change the exhaust, change the suspension, tires, turn it into a sport bike. It's really a building block, or leave it alone.
Okay, Armin, we're on a budget. We're a first-time rider. What do you like?
Out of everything we've seen, none of them. For a beginner, one of these guys.
Okay.
This is an on-off road bike. Looks like a dirt bike, but it's meant primarily for the street. It's meant for somebody to do almost all their riding on the street. The nice thing is they're cheaper than the other bikes. They have less body work to deal with. They're easy to work on if you're taking care of your own bike. Lightweight. You learn a lot about how to ride when you're dealing with a smaller, lighter bike. They stop reasonably well. They have good suspension. And here's one of my favorite features, Jim. Watch this.
Fantastic.
Not if, but when you fall down. They're easy to pick up, and they don't break that much when they fall down.
Okay, Armin, we have a lot of choices here. Now, the first bike's important because it's a big investment. How do we decide what our first bike's going to be?
I think the best way to make an intelligent decision is to come to a place like Bergen Sports Cycles that has a lot of brands, that has a lot of models. You can look at what the different companies make and see what they're like. They also have intelligent sales help, like Richie here. You could ask questions.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
How you doing, Rich?
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, Rich, somebody walks in the door, first-time buyer, first-time rider. How do you steer them in the right direction?
The first thing that I do is I try to find out what type of riding that they're doing. There's many different types. There's sport riding, there's touring, there's the occasional laid-back cruising type of ride on a Sunday afternoon. There's a lot of around town riding also. So I try to find out what type of riding that they do. I also find out how much riding experience they have. If they do have limited riding experience, I do urge them to take a motorcycle safety foundation course. After that point, we go around the showroom and show them different style bikes that we have, let them sit on several, because comfort is a high priority for many people as well. A bike in the 600cc class will do just about everything real well. It's a great size bike for getting somebody around town, but if they want to take a longer ride on a long Sunday afternoon, it has plenty of power to do that as well.
Rich, I'll tell you, we've had a great time looking around the shop here, and you have a nice choice of bikes. This would be certainly a great place to come and pick your first bike out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys for having us.
No problem. Anytime.
Thanks a lot. Take care, Rich.
Thank you. You too.
Oh, well, you know what? If you're a good little boy or girl at the end of dinner, you get what free?
You get to go to bed early.
No, you get dessert. And if you've been bad and Mama caught you in the kitchen, she caught you with your hand in the what freeze?
The cookie jar.
That's right. Well, if you want these cookies, you may have to make a deal with the guy who runs around with a little red fork like this. Yes, I'm not talking about the devil. I'm talking about the fat biker with the beard. Why are you sitting on that sofa? Throw the remote away after you're finished watching a tape. Get out in the garage, warm up your motorcycle, and go out and have a good time. Because you got to remember, you're going to eat hot, you're going to ride safe, and what are they going to do? Cook with fire. All right.
Okay, whatever you want to see in motorcycling, it's right here at Americade. This is like a high school rally mixed up with a bazaar in the Mideast. Everything is here, including an amazing gentleman, Mr. Biker Billy. Billy, you're known for your hot chili, for your hot motorcycle food. Where did you learn how to do this?
Well, I taught myself how to cook when I went to college, and I realized that the food in the cafeteria wasn't for me, and you can take one look at me and see that I love to cook. Motorcycling is my favorite thing, and I work in television, and I figured we put together my two favorite things, motorcycling and cooking, and we came up with Biker Billy Cooks with Fire.
Billy, you're syndicated in how many cities?
It's in over half dozen cities now. I'm about to go into 10 more towards the middle of the summer.
What an amazing rig you got here. It looks like you could entertain people behind you as you're riding down the highway. Do you ever do that?
Well, actually, I wouldn't run the television while I was going down the road because it would be a highway hazard, and I'm promoting safety, and I wouldn't want to do that. But I figured, there's that old cliche of, get your bleep together and take your show on the road. Well, I got it together, I hope, and I assembled this thing so that I could take my show on the road up here to Americade and really show people what the program's all about, and what better way to do it than to attach it to this motorcycle. Now, this is the bike I've taken all the way across country and back again, so it's like an old friend and gives me a special feeling.
Billy, tell us about your cookbook.
Well, I've got a new cookbook coming out. It'll be out at the end of the month. It's published by William Morrow under the Hearst Books. Well, actually, the cover, rip it right off. This is what the cover looks like. It's beautiful. There are over 100 recipes in. They're all hot and spicy. There's information on how to cook with hot peppers so you get the heat but you don't get burned. And I give you information about motorcycle safety, how to get involved with the AMA, with the bait, with motorcycle rights, and really try to give people the whole flavor of what it's like to be involved in what I consider the best sport there is, which is riding a motorcycle.
Nice looking book. Where can people buy it?
Well, the great thing is you can get the book in bookstores everywhere. And if you can't find a bookstore near you and you can't get on your motorcycle and ride to one, if you got a phone, pick it up and dial 1-800-BIKER-BILLY, and you can order it with MasterCard or Visa.
Billy, you can tell that I eat a little bit myself too. What is your hottest dish?
Well, the hottest pepper in the world is the habanero, and I put that in everything from honey mustard right out to hot cocoa, if you believe it or not, even in cooked with bananas into a dessert. So the hottest dish, I don't think you can say one, but in the new cookbook there's over 100 recipes that are as hot as you want them.
The legend is that if you eat hot chili peppers, you do not get colds.